This summer, try the new Strato Frappuccino blended beverage at Starbucks. It's the classic blended iced coffee you know and love, now topped with a creamy layer of handcrafted brown sugar cold foam. Available for a limited time. Your Strato Frappuccino is ready at Starbucks.
With a major selection of the looks your kiddos love starting at just $4 in the Walmart app, a new school year means a stylish new them. Who knew? Find skater skirts and Crocs that say, I'm casual but cool. Sparkly sneakers that say, it's my classroom, you're just learning in it. And preppy polos that say, I'm the teacher's pet, even if they're mommy's menace at home. Find their favorite styles starting at just $4 in the app. The Walmart you thought you knew is now new.
How many discounts does USAA Auto Insurance offer? Too many to say here. Multi-vehicle discount, safe driver discount, new vehicle discount, storage discount, legacy.
How many discounts will you stack up? Visit USAA.com/auto discounts. Restrictions apply.
Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. Now, I was looking for fun ways to tell you that Mint's offer of unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month is back. So I thought it would be fun if we made $15 bills. But it turns out that's very illegal. So there goes my big idea for the commercial. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
This episode is brought to you by Polestar. There's only one true way to experience the all-electric luxury SUV Polestar 3, and that's to take a test drive. It can go from 0 to 60 in as little as 4.8 seconds with the dynamic handling of a sports car. But to truly understand how it commands the road, you need to be behind the wheel. Up to 350 miles of range, the 3D surround sound system by Bowers & Wilkins. It's all something you have to experience to believe. So book your test drive for Polestar 3 today at Polestar.com.
We may live over 8,500 miles from Lincoln Financial Field, but what we lack in proximity, we make up for in film study. And each and every week, we'll be bringing you in-depth film breakdowns from across the pond and the Sooner State. Welcome to On the Shane page. I'm your host, Shane Haff. You can follow me on Twitter at ShaneHaffNFL. I'm joined by BGN's own film guru, Jonny Page. Give him a follow on Twitter at JohnnyPage9. Johnny, how are you doing this evening?
I'm good. I'm impressed you worked out the distance between where you are from London to Manchester. So the Brits have taken over.
I just guessed. Cool. I just used your mileage twice, to be honest.
Oh god, you have no idea, do you?
Aren't you guys all like walking distance from each other? It's a little island, right?
It's terrible. Apologies, Ollie. Got a lovely guest from Manchester. The Brits are taking over today. So yeah, I'm good. I'll let Ollie introduce himself in a second, but this is genuinely true. Whenever we have guests, we always say nice things because, you know, guests, they're always wonderful. But I sent Ollie the smallest rundown of all time for today because I probably trust his opinion. And I mean this, Ollie, more than anyone, especially for draft stuff in particular these days. We always talk about trying to support local work. And I think the Read Optional, your Substack, is the longest I've subscribed to any single one. Unfortunately, you've hooked me now because I can't get the podcast outside of it, so I'm screwed. So yeah, I don't subscribe to as many as I should because there's so many out there. But I remember, Ollie, when you wrote about like 4 Strong like 4 years ago, and ever since then I've been just obsessed with like spotting 4 Strong. And I know recently you spoke about linebackers and blitzing, and I genuinely, Ollie's articles, the only problem is they're too long. So he's a very, very smart guy. So this could last a while, but this is cool. This is why having a podcast is awesome, because I wish I could ask Ollie just about the Eagles more. Because he covers a league whole, and now I get today just to grill him basically and find out anything I want to check my own homework and see how things are going. He's also, of course, published you published the Book of Fangio, didn't you, a few years ago with Sean Syed, which is like
I did
just the most important reading basically of all time. So yeah, I've been subscribed to you for years, so it's awesome to get you here. And he's a fellow Brit, Shane. So we outnumber you guys 2-1 for the first time ever on the show, probably the last time ever as well. I can't think of another. Brit off the top of my head.
Are you already suggesting this show's not going to be worth inviting Ollie back for a repeat,
very true,
an encore performance down the road? No, come on.
Yeah, very true. He's an important man, and yes, as Crabby's already shouted out, it's a hell of a background, isn't it? He's He's beat me here with a background bling with the guitars and the Beatles, and I've got a straight white wall behind me. But anyway, Ollie, I'll let you introduce yourself very quickly. Tell us about yourself, how you got into it. I've already mentioned your Substack, The Read Optional, but for anyone who's not aware of your work, give me a very, very, very brief bit.
How do I do a brief introduction of myself? I don't know. I write about football. I was a scout for 6, 7, 8 years. What is time at this point? I worked at Western Michigan. I worked for a bunch of different scouting services for the NFL draft. I am a complete windbag, as Jonny mentioned, both in my writing and then the podcast I do, which runs to 2.5 hours each time. I have maybe the strangest British accent on account of living in Boston for 3 years, and my wife being American and her now having a really strange Mancunian Georgia accent, and me having a strange Georgia Mancunian accent of my own. So that, I guess, is the general background.
There you go.
All right. Well, this is, pro tip, if there's like a really good content creator that covers a whole sport and you wish they talked about your team more, just invite them on your show, and then you can ask them whatever you want to. So we want to pick Ollie's brain and dive into, some Eagles offense and defense things, the Jalen Hurts discussion, and just kind of talk about general things to watch for around the league. But as we discussed before the show, Jonny, Ollie's not on social media, and so he's not aware of the current Jalen Hurts discussion. So why don't you fill in those gaps for him?
Yeah, so,
it's a wonderful discourse.
Yes, really good discourse, Ollie. I'm sure you're missing out.
Is this going to hurt my heart? Is this going to really hurt me?
I don't know. So I don't actually, to be honest, Ollie, and this is a weird thing, but I don't read a lot of Eagles content. So I probably follow you more for whole NFL stuff. Obviously, around the Super Bowl and stuff, I was listening to you and John in the playoffs, but I'd probably say I know your opinion about the Eagles less than other teams, which is quite stupid, because I cover the Eagles and talk about the Eagles, and to an extent I almost don't want to know what other people think a lot of the time as well, or you end up just repeating stuff you hear, don't you? So I guess of late, it's been the classic old school, it's like QB ranking season, and we'll talk more about the Eagles offense in a bit, but just in general I guess we'll start with Hurts. And then we were lucky enough to have James Foster on the show about a month ago, and we had some really good footage. He got access to footage from Hurts from 2020. And it made you realise actually just how far he's come as a QB. And you're a draft guy as well, so I'm sure you remember if at the time you were watching Hurts come out as well. And I guess the discourse has been, and I'm interested in your own thoughts, and I'm not going to make you rank QBs because I hate that stuff, and I know you hate all that kind of jazz as well because it's completely irrelevant. But there's been a lot of rankings that have Hurts maybe significantly lower than where Eagles fans would appreciate him. And I think Hurts has a number of flaws, which we don't need to get into in huge amounts. But I guess just to start like big picture, how do you assess Hurts' development over time, and how do you look at the Eagles' offense with Hurts at the helm these days? Do you look at it as a major position of strength? Do you appreciate? Because I basically have a personal bugbear where I think people are too quick to point out things he doesn't do well, throws over the middle of the field, for example, rather than focus on the number of strengths he does bring to the team. And I think it's difficult because the Eagles' offense is so talented with Saquon, obviously AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, the offensive line being that good. So how do you, as an analyst, how do you go about trying to judge Jalen Hurts considering the talent around the Eagles? And how much, I guess, of the Eagles' offense do you think is because of what Jalen Hurts does rather than him just being a small part of it?
Yeah, I think the big picture design of the offense can only roll because of the way he is built and his skills, which is like downhill vertical runner who can rip it down the field outside the numbers as well as anyone in the league. Last year that waned dramatically. That to me is the major area of growth he's had from college to the pros, where even in college he was kind of a dump or pump quarterback, as I call him, which is either it's like quick game underneath or I'm letting it fly down the field. And he became to me one of the best throw to leverage quarterbacks down the field in the NFL, which is just ever so subtly changing the radar of the release down the field to put it in a spot depending on where the cornerback is, depending on where the leverage is, just putting it in the right position every time. I thought that fell off so poorly during the regular season last year, and then was miraculously back in the postseason out of nowhere. And I think with him, and I don't want to speak for the discourse, but if I had to guess why people kind of view him that way, would be he does a lot of the stuff at a B+ level, and there's people who do that stuff at an A+ level. Like each individual skill set, right? Downfield runner, Josh Allen's better at that. downfield bombers, people who are better than that. So I think it's just like, well, by each individual trait that makes him the player he is, there's someone slightly better at it, or maybe significantly better at it, and therefore you overlook some of the other stuff, and then it highlights some of the minutiae that I do think is a problem. Some of the rhythm game stuff, some of the footwork stuff, some of the mechanics, the speed with which he plays, that kind of a light gets shined on that, because you're looking for something he's maybe the best at or in the top 3 at, because he might not be that in the other areas that are truly his strengths.
Yeah, that's interesting, actually. I've never considered the fact that, is there anything he does, even mobility these days, even out of structure stuff, he's not Lamar as a runner. He's not Jaden Daniels as a runner. What would you say, just a big picture, like, and I know we spoke about middle of the field, you mentioned footwork there, like, is there anything major glaring in his game these days? Because is there anything you see as like a real hindrance? I know the middle of the field stuff sort of obvious, but do you want to expand on that, or is there anything else in particular that you think he still needs to work on?
I think the middle of the field stuff is tied to the rhythm issues. That it's hard to get the ball into the middle of the field. It's where the most bodies are. It's the really high degree difficulty throws. If you are not in flow with the offense, with the receivers, with the play design, it's hard to cram the ball in there, particularly if you have a hiccup in your release, and he was just hiccuping all the time last season. You go back to 2022 and the thing was just a machine. The sequencing of the offense, the design of the offense, where he fit in that. It was like everything that was great about him, right, was put into the offense, and it just so happened that everything that was great about everyone else fit that so cohesively. That was kind of like what made it so special. That, to me, was just gone last season. He was so slow in everything he did all the time. Not just the reading stuff, actually, like, the footwork, the mechanics was just really lackadaisical. His movement in the pocket, really lackadaisical. There's just hiccups all the time, to the point where he would stand in, and he's got this kind of, which I fall for these quarterbacks all the time. Geno Smith is like that, where they have this like kind of crank pendulum delivery, right, where they just kind of rock and roll and let the ball go, rather than it being all within the feet and the hips and a snap to it. I fall for those guys, but he would have this like pendulum swing and hold the swing back. And if you go to the Cleveland game, where I thought he played okay, there's about 4 or 5 times where by holding the ball longer, mid-release essentially, he allows guys into his lap.
Yeah.
So it's impossible to build a rhythm offense if the guy is not getting the ball out on time, right? If it's 3 and go, we're 3 and go, no conversation. And so it's really difficult to attack the middle of the field if your guy is not playing on time and in rhythm. And with that, it's not just the out of rhythm stuff and the creativity in the backfield you're kind of talking to there, the second reaction plays, which again returned at least in the Super Bowl, if not in the postseason. His just feel in a muddy pocket is different than it used to be. He's kind of in this weird halfway house where these guys who hit this stick, slide, climb throw, which is like the throw in the NFL, particularly when you rip it to the middle of the field. That's how you kind of picture Brady, Goff, Rodgers, all the guys.
Yep.
Hit the back foot, slide away from the pass rush, climb up in the pocket, release it in one shot. Goff and Brady have this real like flow and ballet to how they do it, right? Rodgers, Jackson, the more explosive guys, they can just kind of leap from launch point to launch point and get the ball out really quick. He's in this like weird middle ground where he's not quite agile enough to kind of plant off one foot, leap to another spot and let it go. And then he's so slow in the delivery at the top of the drop, he doesn't really have this like natural flow to his game. So when you just go and watch their quick game cut up, it's never in time. It's just not crisp enough. It's not snappy enough. And that was fine in 2022 when it was not so rhythm-based. Last year, they were trying to be rhythm-based, at least for the first 9 weeks of the season. And so everything just felt like everyone was out of sync with one another.
Yeah.
I remember yelling about the offense a lot early last year and how Kellen Moore was trying to run an offense for Dak Prescott and Justin Herbert instead of an offense for Jalen Hurts. And that's been one of my biggest... And I continued to yell about it, honestly, even down the backside of the season. It's like... the thing I just yelled about all the time was backside timing routes. Like, he's never going to get to that. Just run a guy across the field. Like, do something else, but stop running backside comebacks and curl routes. He's never going to get there.
That's what's wild with him is if you just ran a true ISO offense, he's given A.J. Brown one of the great luxuries of life that any human could have. I get A.J. Brown? What a joy. If you're Mrs. Brown, that's great. For anyone else, it's an amazing time to be alive. I think he may be the all-around best player in the league. You just go skill by skill for his position. He might be the very best. No one stops him on press. No one. Yeah. So all you need every time is backside slant, as you're saying, Shane. It's like, well, we'll just build the play this way. We'll go backside slant. If we don't like it in a flash, we just look at the rotation instantly. We throw it to AJ every time. It's just an alert. How many times did Steichen do that? You cannot stop AJ Brown off the press, and you can't tackle him because he's a bowling ball. This seems like a pretty good situation to be in. And then we get the shot stuff, and they changed, as you guys will know more than anyone, they changed Brown's receiver profile when he got to Philly, which was quick game and we'll just take the shots when we want to. They kind of removed the intermediate portion of the field where he is, again, dominant, but it was kind of unnecessary because his skills are so good and they married with Hurts so well on those two simple things that kind of down the field stuff is where they connect best. But you get this get out of jail free card that Kellen, who is someone I have my own beefs with, was just kind of refusing to acquiesce to last season.
Yeah, it was.
Really...
I
remember when they went and got AJ Brown, talking about how like we will now find out if Hurts is going to be able to throw over the middle of the field because AJ Brown's one of the best slant and dig runners in the NFL. And they just never really even tried. And that always really confused me. And now we're so far away from it. Like, it's been a couple of years now in this offense, and everybody's like, A.J. Brown's one of the best deep threats in the NFL. And it's like, he is. But also, like, I feel like we've forgotten about how good he is on the slants and the digs and things like that over the middle.
Yeah, Ollie, this is terrible because it's basically going to be it's a podcast / interview at this point because we're going to grill you, as you can probably tell. But I normally prepare people, but I know how much you know and I respect you. So I was going to bring up Kellen Moore, even though I didn't tell you I was going to. So we struggled, like both me and Shane, because Kellen Moore had such a good sort of resume. I think people we watched a lot of the Chargers stuff and we liked it, but Herbert and Dak are probably two of the best processors in the league by a significant distance. And that's very hard then when you hire the guy because I think quarterbacks can make coaches look good, can't you? If you call a play and Dak Prescott figures it out pre-snap, it's hard to look...
It's helpful.
Yeah, it's hard to look bad, isn't it? And I've got my own bugbears at Dak. Of course, I'm an Eagles fan, but I don't think anyone's doubting his processing, just how clean it is, and Herbert's as well. So we found the offense really weird because, as you said, like I think people forget Hurts was just so out of sync. Like, it just looked weird. And you mentioned Shane was going on. I mean, Shane, you hated quick game as well. You were killing the Eagles quick game last year.
I hated the Eagles quick game.
Yeah, the Eagles quick game was horrible. It felt like there were so many like 3-step drops with 2x2, pick a side. That side's not open. Oh, crap. What do we do now? And the playoffs was the worst when they played, who was it, the Rams and Stafford in the divisional. And it was rough. And then we basically, the whole Eagles media just went mental. Like, what is going on? Like, I remember, Shane, we had a very popular week breaking down how many things were poor with the offense. And then with the Washington game, it sort of clicked. And there was so much more, and I want to say basic, you can call it basic if you want, college, but a lot more like half-field reads, a lot of things that were just all in his line of vision. So things like sail concepts where Hurts, it's very easy to read. He throws a brilliant deep out to Dallas Goedert. You know you can throw it down the field. And it felt like Kellen Moore was just trying to do stuff throughout the year. And there was a part of me that wondered, you know what, maybe it's short-term pain for long-term gain. They're trying to develop Hurts so he gets good at this stuff. And then there was another part of me that was like, I don't think Hurts needs to be good at that stuff. I think the way the Eagles' offense is constructed now, when you've got the running game, and that's where I think the criticism comes, is people want, and I guess I struggle with people who want Hurts to be more than he is, and I'm like, but does he need to be? They just won the Super Bowl with him playing in a very specific way. So did you find, and I'm not going to ask for your whole opinion on Kellen Moore right now, but did you find the offense quite tough to watch at times? Because I felt like I was going a bit mad sometimes because... I'm not a former scout like yourself, Ollie, and I'll be honest, my mantra is always coaches know a lot, and I hate doubting coaches in general because there's a lot of idiots online that shout stuff like they're clueless, and they're obviously not. And Kellen Moore obviously knows what he's doing. It just felt to me like philosophically it didn't match. And worse than that, it felt like it wasn't necessary. Like they were making winning harder than it had to be. And you don't want to sound like the guy in the pub who just goes like run the ball and throw it deep, but it felt like there were things the Eagles could do that were just a lot more simplistic, that didn't require Hurts. And I think Hurts just got a bit frazzled, in all honesty. I think he then started just missing layups because he wasn't trusting what he was seeing. So yeah, you mentioned Kellen Moore, but what did you think of the construction of the offense last year? Like, did you find it difficult to watch?
I think the frazzle part too has a lot to do with Kelsey leaving, not in terms of changing what they did, but change the responsibilities involved. There's way more on his plate in a way he hadn't had before. So now you're dealing with all the protections and you're dealing with changing the run game, which he'd never had to do before in terms of resetting the run game to different fronts. Now all of a sudden I've got to check and try something different. I'm running this offense I don't like. Like, I can see why he would get frazzled doing that. My kind of general beef with Kellen Moore, which I think bore out last season, and it's hard to kind of pull apart who was involved with what, right? All these staffs are built differently. They had a passing game coordinator. Some staffs now, they have a guy who sets the third down plan, the different coaches orchestrate different elements of the offense. The OC is either builds the game plan or ties it together. And we got Sirianni in the fold, and who knows exactly what his responsibility is. Probably changes week to week, as it does with most of these head coaches who are involved in game planning the offense to some extent. My main beef with Moore for a while now, I think most whatever you call it, film Twitter, whatever we call it these days, I don't know what it's called. You said him on social media. He was kind of like the hot shot guy, right, for a long time, particularly in Dallas, because he does interesting stuff. The formations look interesting, the motions look interesting, but to me, he falls into the category of ego coach. And those are the guys that really frustrate me, which is whiteboard stuff to satiate my ego, to show everyone how smart I am, to go and get a head coaching job with the Saints, rather than building a cohesive structure that fits the players in the roster I have, or calling the right play at the right time for what we sequenced and built into the offense, the way Shane Steichen did. Shane Steichen was not an ego coach, even though he has a larger ego in person than Kellen Moore does. But the coaching was not egotistical. The coaching was, I'll go get the head coaching gig if I build, probably to me, structurally, the best offense the past 10 years. The one Shane Steichen built, based on where macro trends were with defenses and the personnel he had at his disposal. That to me was better even than the Hill, Kelsey, Andy Reid, like the tailoring and structuring of the offense and the calling and design of the offense. So for me, with Moore, I'm watching it going, a lot of this stuff doesn't fit together. You guys will have gone through all the numbers in the first quarter, right? Just disastrous offense in the first quarter for 12 weeks of the season. And people will say to you, oh, they're trying to gather intel. That's what they do early on. That was not what they were doing. That was not what they did. They ran the same stuff all the time into a brick wall. And you can see, I think, a pretty clear point in the season when they start to pull it back and say, let's return to some of the old stuff we used to do. Let's get to some of the stuff we're more comfortable with. And one thing, I don't want to set Jonny any homework here, but I think it's worth investigating if you cover the Eagles. Yeah. You go and watch them against the Commanders the first time and the second time. I know they beat the brakes off them in the playoff game. And you watch the Panthers game. I think people very clearly had all their signals. I think it's really obvious because you can watch them. The difference in when they do a check or a kill call from run to pass, and it's hard to figure this stuff out from the outside, right? Everyone's got dummy calls and all this stuff. But you can see when they do a full check, full reset, and Jalen's doing his signs to the receivers, and you can see that they've changed the play up, people sit on absolutely everything they do. Even when they're crushing the Commanders, all those TFLs in the first half come off him completely changing the play. So I don't think Kellen's changed his signals for a long, long time, and everyone had a real beat on what they were running. And I just think the guy has a real feel that he's going to be the person to decide the game, that he, by design, will figure the game out, more so than it is, I'm going to build an offense for these specific players, which would be, as Shane mentioned, let's maybe get Brown involved in things that help A.J. Brown where he's at his best. Let's maybe build an offense that is best for Jalen Hurts. Even in the Super Bowl, there was a bunch of stuff that was that was for Kellen Moore. That was Kellen Moore on a Super Bowl stage, calling a Super Bowl offense, saying, I'm going to put my own show on, as opposed to things that were built specifically to the guys he inherited.
Yeah, the Eagle, to your point, in the first quarter, throughout the entire regular season, the Eagles' offense ranked 24th in the league in EPA per play. And I forget what the numbers were after that. I could look them up, but I know they were very high in quarters 2 through 4. They
became the best offense in the league after halftime. Yeah. And this was not halftime adjustments. They ran the same offense. They just played better. The run game ground people down. But
Shane, can you remember? So pre-season, we did we stole the idea off Coach Dan Casey. We watched the whole drive. We did a couple of Kellen Moore where we just watched because obviously you watch a lot of highlights and stuff, but we just basically watched a 15-play drive or something. And there was 2 or 3 wacky plays in there. And the big thing we spoke about was why did you do this? There was one that was, what was the one that was utterly bizarre, Shane? It was the Chargers.
It was the reverse. It was a reverse pass turned into a tight end screen.
Yeah, and it was and they were the drive was going so well, and it was so unnecessary. And I remember we both highlighted it thinking, and I've never heard the phrase ego coach, but I know you mentioned it before actually yourself. But I love the idea of that's probably true for what Kellen Moore is actually. And the thing is,
that's true for a lot of coaches.
He got the head coaching gig.
He's had this big online media persona as the young innovative guy, and he does come up with a lot of innovative stuff. And I'm not here to bash the designs necessarily. He has Dan Casey in the building. Yes. He followed Dan Casey on social media, getting all these fun plays from all over the world, and was like, "Why didn't you come in the building?" Because that's how he views the game. get me the coolest designs possible. And that's great. I'm all for cool designs. Andy Reid has some of the coolest. Andy Reid has guys surfing through film from Japan to go and find plays. He looks through high school football. Seriously, one guy in staff, Mike Kafka, that used to be his job in Kansas City. He's now an assistant head coach of the NFL. He used to watch Japanese football to find plays for Andy Reid. That's great stuff. It's the knowing when to call it. Is it tied together? And a lot of Kellen's stuff, the idea is to have a payoff play. They make it look, smell, feel like everything else you run, so that then people don't know it's coming and you can pay it off. To me, it feels like he's got a counter in his head, like, well, after 8, I get one. It's like the old film thing, like 1 for them, 1 for me. Most coaches are like, well, it's like 35 for the players, 1 for me. I feel like Kellen's in like the 8-to-1 ratio, which to me is just off.
Yeah, I looked those up. It was first quarter for the entire season, the Eagles offense ranked 24th in EPA per play. In quarters 2 through 4, they ranked 3rd in the NFL in EPA per play.
Yes, wow,
and
isn't it?
It was crazy just how, I mean, watching games, it was like, why don't we just, like, first play of the game, let's just punt the ball and get that off our back, and then let's go play football after that. At one point, I looked up, like, the average points per opening drive for the Eagles on the season, because I think they only scored, like, 1 opening drive touchdown in the regular season. It's just crazy.
Yeah,
the slow
for a team
starts.
that won the Super Bowl and destroyed Spags' defense in the first half as well is bizarre. And there's good comment from Yako as well.
There was good stuff in there. I want to make that. There was good stuff. There was a lot of like the general trends I write about a lot that I think teams should be embracing. They are always a year, 2 years to the race before everyone else. A lot of the pistol work, excellent stuff.
Yeah.
You see that pay off in the Super Bowl a ton with them getting into the pistol, particularly against Spags. That's like probably the easiest formula you can get to try and discombobulate Spags. They get the huge touchdown shot to Devonta Smith is off a pistol play action shot. So there was a lot of good stuff in there, but I felt just watching it, you could feel the tension of like 5 different voices in the room building a game plan.
Yeah.
If it was maybe just Kellen's, it could be a different situation. But I think for me personally, worse, it would have looked like, hey, I'm going to try and do what I did with Dak. Dak is a supercomputer of a quarterback, as you mentioned, Jonny. Jalen just hasn't proven to be that guy yet. Maybe it could have looked like that, maybe not. But I just felt you could see the tension between all the different voices in the building.
Yeah, and it's funny because we forget, I mean, as I said, we covered a team. So Yako have a good comment about there was a efficiency jump after AJ's comment. There was a lot of disgruntled Eagles faces in the first half of the season. So I think you're right about just how many different people there were. You forget when you're covering a team, but when you think back, Shane, there was a lot of disgruntled members in the media. There was a lot of anger. There was rumours of players falling out and this and that. And even I think the running game's fascinating because, I mean, that's weird, isn't it? When you're someone like Kellen Moore, going somewhere where you basically have a run game coordinator in Stoutland who does it all for you must be quite tough as well. Because Kellen Moore wants to tie a bunch of his passing game concepts to his running game. And then it's like, well, actually, we don't really want to sit under centre and run outside zone because that's not really how we do things here. We're
then they would do it like 3 times a game and everyone knew exactly what was coming.
Yeah, it was bizarre.
Very, very bizarre. And then he's got a passing game coordinator. Then he's got a third down coordinator. He's probably looking at Nick's in charge of the offense. So he's probably thinking, what is my job here weekly? I'll come up with the fun plays, shall I? And I'll call those 1 and 8.
Yeah, the under-centre stuff was bizarre. It seems to only work when Ben Van Sumeren was occasionally there for about the few weeks, and then the rest of the time it was just an utter train wreck. And it's obvious that Stoutland wanted to do shotgun, read option, pin pull stuff. Like it was so... They seemed so... and we said the second they hired Kellen Moore, that was going to be the thing that I was more interested to see is how they were going to tie the two together. And it did feel like they never really... did.
Even the things that make Kellen, which is all the motion and shifting, but he's not a motion guy in the sense like Mike McDaniel is. It's not to overload the point of attack or to shift the leverage. It's to fully kind of reset the formation, right? That's what he's doing. That's why he shifts more than he motions off them. And you go and watch them play, and then you go through some of the figures. Like, that just isn't how Jalen Hurts chose to play, even within the confines of that offense. They were 29th in the league in targeting the motion man. They barely ran jet motion. They ran it in the run game. They did not run it in the pass game. So the thing he's in charge of, he's like, well, I don't want to do that. So now you've got these 2 completely different siloed offenses. As you mentioned, Jonny, of like, one team is running this in the run game. I'm doing this in the passing game. I actually don't design the passing game. Someone else does that. So I'm going to call the plays, but I'm going to put my shift and motion in. It was just really off. And even the run game stuff, it's to just kind of adjust the box count slightly and try and get a different lane for Saquon. And that stuff did work, but it was just not all tied together the way it used to be. And that to me was kind of the disappointment when you go back and watch it.
2 things. So, the under center point, it was like, we're going to run under center 4 times a game. And 3 of them will be run plays, but the first play of the second half will be a play action max protect bomb.
Always.
And then I remember talking about in film stuff during the season, like the Eagles' motions didn't accomplish anything because so often they would send a guy in motion and he just releases to the flat like 6 yards behind or 9 yards behind the line of scrimmage because he had to get behind the quarterback when he went into motion, and they do like the orbit motion stuff, but it was never for a purpose in the passing game. And so I remember at one point, like, that had been the thing people had talked about for years. The Eagles needed to use more motion, and I was finally like, just stop using motion. You're just wasting a receiver. Like, you're putting him in a position that he's no threat whatsoever. Just have him run a go route instead. Like, it would do more to stress the defense because everybody knew, like, we're not throwing to the orbit motion guy. We're not gonna. And so it just, like you said, it became very siloed. There was motion for a purpose in the run game, and then there was motion just to motion because we can't only motion on run plays in the pass game.
I mean, this is beautiful. Jonny, he's speaking my language here. Jonny probably knows this well. Like, the pointlessness of motion and motion being a stand-in amongst media members for good offense, modern offense. Tell me what the point of the motion. They show a generic motion rate. What is the point of the motion? Please show me. And Shay nailed it. You go watch the run game. There is great point to their motion. Did it always work? No. And did they tip that they were running the ball off their motion every single time? Let me tell you. Every single time. It was so not tied to the rest of the offense. Did it matter? No. We've got 5 unbelievable players we can all pull. We've got a quarterback running threat. We got Saquon Barkley. 1 miss, we hit a home run. Doesn't matter. That's the point of the motion, is to get Saquon Barkley hitting home runs. It was not tied to anything else. In the passing game, they are motioning not to adjust strength. They're not really motioning to change leverage. And it's really hard to have a motion-based passing game if your quarterback refuses to throw in rhythm. You basically take away the advantage of the motion point. So what becomes the point of our motion? I'd rather just set up and go and let him declare where everyone's going to be early so he can decide what he wants to do in 4 seconds when he's under pressure. Like that just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, can you remember I know I'm angry you get. I'm the same. When it's just like, oh, there's a list of motion in the NFL. 67%, therefore he's good. 54%, not good. It's like, it's the most just... Yeah, it's mad. Everything we're saying is that they went and won the Super Bowl by absolutely battering the Super Bowl champions and in the conference game. But yeah, there were a lot of... We should probably move on.
I think it's exciting for the future, honestly, because I felt watching it, there was a lot of good stuff in there still, and just so much meat left on the bones. It was like 30% of the offense they had in 2022. I know they waxed Spags in that game too, by the way. Should have won that one.
That was Hurts' best performance ever, the Super Bowl lost.
Yeah, and the second best performance is probably the Super Bowl he won. So he was absolutely nails under pressure again. So there's just so much meat left there. It would have me really fired up. And I did think it was interesting that I'm sure you guys cover the team when Moore left, people throwing names around who's going to get the job and people go chasing big name stuff. I think keeping it in the building, just removing one voice of what felt like one voice too many in the decision making, I thought was a sensible choice.
I was going to transition onto that, Shane. Sorry, did you want to talk any more? Or should we transition into this year very briefly?
Yeah, so 2 questions. One, I just got to ask Ollie because I dug this stat up and it's one of my favorites. But Mark mentioned the motion into wide receiver screens where Devontae was the lone blocker, drove him crazy. Ollie, I went back and looked. In the last 10 seasons, I looked at screen pass success rates. So out of 320 total teams, where do you think the Eagles ranked in screen pass success rate in 2024?
Oh, it's got to be in the bottom 40.
318th out of 320
with that talent, with an offensive line that can all run.
And AJ Brown, who cannot be tackled on first contact, so that's 3 yards. We already got those.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
Yeah.
My name is Happy Gilmore. I haven't swung a club in years.
You know what you got to do? Grip it and rip it.
Now that is some Happy Gilmore.
Everyone is talking about the comeback kid, Happy Gilmore.
Happy knee.
Yeah, baby!
Happy Gilmore 2, only on Netflix July 25th. Rated PG-13, may be inappropriate for children under 13.
How do you top your love for your cat? With a cascade of decadent savory gravy over a mouth-watering mousse pâté. Fancy Feast gems. 2 gourmet pâtés in 1 convenient pack. Simply peel and plate to reveal a pyramid shape that makes eating delightful and pamper her with an experience as extraordinary as she is. Turn the everyday into the extraordinary with Fancy Feast gems.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey, it's Paris. You know I love sparkly things, right? Like stars. Duh. And thanks to Hilton and AutoCamp, I just slept under them. Picture me, serving looks by the fire outside my luxurious Airstream, making s'mores with the kids, while a national park is our backdrop. The great outdoors meets Hilton hospitality. That's hot. Explore all the new ways to stay at Hilton.com. Hilton for the stay.
The McDonald's Snack Wrap is back. You brought it back. Ranch Snack Wrap. Spicy Snack Wrap. You broke the internet for a snack. Snack Wrap is back. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
But the other question I wanted to ask is you talked about how siloed the run and the pass game were, and you've got a run game coordinator and you've got a pass game coordinator and all these things, and how Kellen Moore played into it being so siloed. With the way the Eagles coaching staff is structured, do you think there is an offensive coordinator that can come in and sort of unify that into where it doesn't feel like there's three different guys in charge of three different aspects and can really unify the offense into one cohesive thing?
Yeah, probably when Shane Steichen gets bulleted in week 6, I would imagine. would be really. He comes back as a consultant probably for the final 10 weeks of the season. I think it'll start really rolling well. It's really not that all the staffs are built this way now. This isn't like a unique setup, right? Sean McVay is considered like the doyen of the Rams offense. He doesn't build the game plan. He doesn't even call the plays half the time anymore. He has a third down guy who calls third downs. It should be fairly easy to do when your head coach is an offensive guy. He's going to build out the staff in the way that has the most continuity. The point of the sequencing of the offense is to get the run game, the RPO game to all look the same so you can get to play action shots. So you're not just investing in the run game for run game's sake, that you invest in it to be able to crack the ball over people's head, and the play action game looks identical to the run game. The presentation, the look, the smell, the feel. And when you have an offense where all 5 guys pull, and you have this unbelievable opportunity with these kind of lead running back pull plays that no one else in the league can even consider unfurling, except for maybe the Cardinals, where you have a genuine weapon at running back as a lead blocker. Bizarre. And anyone else can pull and lead as well. Bizarre. No one else can even get close to that. And your quarterback can take off. This stuff is not difficult. That Shane Steichen offense I'm talking about was not a difficult, beautiful design by, the plays. There was none of those, plays from the Japanese league in there at the time. It was just all great stuff crafted for the personnel. So it to me should be the easiest offense for someone to be able to sequence together, because you so naturally flow from option read to Saquon to option read to RPO, the slide package they used to have, which was the most indefensible package in all of football, when they had got and the slide stuff, just completely indefensible. They roll into that, you roll that into a play action shot, you roll that into your drop back game. It should be really, really easy to put together.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the Eagles' offense this year, but I guess you sort of covered it. But just quickly before we flip over to the defense, you mentioned it. I think fans are going to be fans, aren't they? They always want the next big name, and then they went for Kevin Patullo, who was already in the building. Any particular thoughts, or is it basically what you said, the idea that they've just removed the voice and you expect it to be similar, but maybe a little bit less cooks in the kitchen, or whatever they say?
Yeah, I don't think it will be similar. I think it'll be similar by design, maybe structure, but I think there's definitely going to be more tempo involved. And Patullo, when he was with the Jets, they built one of the best empty packages in the league. I mean, that team stunk, but they built one of the best empty sets in the league. And that is something I would really like to see them try with more. I know it's difficult and weird for fans to hear because they got Saquon Barkley. It's like, why would we remove Saquon Barkley from the backfield? Well, he can go and play elsewhere. You can reload the formation. They tried that stuff in the Super Bowl. It was really effective, right? You put Saquon in the slot, you reload it if you want to, if the look isn't what you want. But getting to empty, I think, would help Jalen Hurts a lot. Up in the tempo, I think, would help a lot. You go and see, as I said, these guys have been 2 years ahead of everyone else. Okay, I felt last year they were at stasis last season compared to the rest of the league. They were doing a lot of stuff they've done before. You look at where the other teams are going, who are saying, okay, we're pushing ahead to what it's going to look like in 2 years. It's a lot of empty. It's a lot of no huddle. It's a lot of getting big personnel on the field and then getting empty with your big personnel. That, to me, would, I think, help them out. teams are moving so much on the back end, teams are moving so much in the front. The only thing you can pray to do as an offense right now is say, can we get these guys to stop just for a breath? Give us a second where you guys aren't moving all over the place. The easiest way to do that is to get into empty. You just instantly slim down the menu of pressures available. It's harder to move. Everyone has to declare. And if you get to it, because you have a guy like Saquon who can line up in the backfield, then you kick him out. One, everyone panics. Those guys are now panicking, even though they're all mugged up. And two, they all are going to have an instant check. Instantly. Because it's just what's going to be the default. If Saquon goes, we default. And you will know that in 3 plays. You'll instantly figure out the default, and then you can go attack the thing. So when you have an offense where you can have all 5 guys as a threat as a puller, Jalen can run. And the thing you're trying to do, as you mentioned earlier, Jonny, is can we maybe get him some more predefined stuff in the offense where he's not reading 1 through 5 all the time? It would seem to me to make the most sense to up the empty amount. And they just barely got into it last season, honestly, until the postseason. Maybe they were saving it. I doubt it because there were criticisms at the midpoint of the season. And the no-huddle stuff, they only ran 19 snaps of no-huddle last season in an even game state. That's just shocking. The Commanders were at 218 in an even game state last year, and they really cranked it to the max. They had a rookie and all that stuff. But to me, those are 2 things that are already in the offense. They showed it in the Super Bowl at its best. It's just kind of cranking that up, I think, to the next level.
Yeah, oh man,
you can do this.
You've already jumped onto the empty chat. We might get back to it later because I was going to talk about schematic trends, and I wanted to talk about Bryce Young very briefly with you. We'll pull that for a little bit later, though. Shane, what are you going to say? Sorry.
I was just going to say you can do the inverse of that too. You can come out and empty and then motion Saquon into the backfield and watch defenses freak out. You can motion him into the background and run a read option where you're snapping him already in motion, or a play action. Like, there's so many things you can build off of that. I've loved empty for years, and there was a time the Eagles used it a lot, and they were really good at it, and it kind of faded down the stretch. And I remember talking about Washington last year and the way they were using empty to simplify things for Jaden Daniels and isolate guys out in space, and I loved that they were doing that, and so that'd be a very welcome change to the offense as well. So.
Before they had the tush push, outside of the slide package, which was the most indefensible thing in football, I'll repeat that until I die. The second most indefensible thing was their single-man power game with Kelsey from empty. It was like, Jason will pull, he's quicker than everyone else in the league off the snap, and Jalen will follow him behind. And he's a downhill threat who can run over the first person that he hits.
Yeah, not to mention that you have the QB run game out of empty. It's impossible. It is impossible to defend the Eagles in empty when you can run Jalen Hurts downhill against light boxes, and against heavier boxes you can take one-on-one shots to A.J. Brown and to Devontae Smith. Like, there's so many things that you can do out of it. I think it's utterly indefensible.
The question with it, I guess,
QB hits.
You guys mentioned Jalen, is how much he wants to do it at this stage of his career. What is that comment? And what is his involvement now in the offense? The guy's paid an awful lot of money. I'm sure he likes to have a say. And is he one of those guys? And a lot of these guys have been. Cam Newton was like this towards the end of his career. Let's maybe save that for the postseason. That really hurts. There's a lot of ice baths during the season. Maybe that is what they did last year when they unloaded it more in the postseason. I'm not quite so sure, but I would like to at least see it for maybe 5-6 weeks. And then maybe we can put it on ice for a little bit, bring it back.
I think there is a legitimate argument for that as well. Was it the Frankie Louvu hit that injured him? Was that from empty, or was that just a standard read option run? I think it might have been from empty, but I can't remember. But Hurts did get injured, obviously, with a concussion against Frankie Louvu, who likes to hit a lot.
Especially after quarterbacks slide.
Yeah, and that's the kind of thing that you've got to weigh up, haven't you, philosophically, I guess, when you run that stuff. Right.
Just don't do it against the Commanders.
Yeah, or Frankie Louvu, because he's incredibly good as well, to be fair, as well as being a little bit aggressive.
Ollie keeps mentioning the Eagles slide package. Literally one of the first all-22 videos I ever posted on YouTube was titled "The Eagles Have a Money Play." Yeah. And it was like 6 different instances of them running that slide package differently. Like 4 years ago or something like that.
Yeah, it's mad I didn't do it more. Right, we're going to have to move on because I said it's going to be a long one because I know what Ollie's like and I know what we're like when we talk to someone as well.
And that is going to do it for part 1 of our interview with Ollie Connolly, talking about the Eagles' offense and big picture takeaways and schematic things from last season heading into next year. Next week, we will have part 2 of the interview up talking about the Eagles' defense and then some generic trends to watch for across the NFL as a whole. And so that's also a fantastic conversation. It'll drop next week on the podcast feed. If you would like an advanced preview, Part 2 is already posted in our Patreon at patreon.com/ontheshanepage. And we have lots of great content on there, exclusive content that's not available in the podcast feed as well. So if you would like to get early access to that, if you would like to support us and get some of the other exclusive content we have, head over to patreon.com/ontheshanepage. We have a $3 and a $5 a month tier, and you can grab a free 1-week trial. If not, stay tuned. Part 2 of this conversation will be live next week. Thanks for joining in.